All right, so get this. We're diving deep into Franz Bardon's initiation into Hermetics. Like, this book's got a reputation, right? It's dense, fascinating, and we're going to try to break it down, for everyone listening.
It's not your typical magic book.
Yeah.
Forget the rabbits and hats. This is ancient knowledge. It's a whole system, philosophy, science, practical stuff, all about those hidden laws of the universe. The ones inside us and the ones, all around us.
And Bardon's pretty clear about what a magician really is, right? No stage tricks. He actually says a true magician, despises trickery.
It's true.
They're more like, I don't know, a scientist of the soul.
Yeah.
But what's that path look like? What do they do think?
So Bardon lays it out. Magic for him is mastering these universal principles. We're talking elements, fire, water, air, earth. But he gets really specific, like more than you'd think. He even assigns different polarities to each part of your body.
Wait, what?
Yeah. Your ears, for example. They've got an electrical and a magnetic side, according to Bardon.
Whoa, hold on. So this isn't just like good vibes and crystals. He's talking about the human body like a circuit board or something.
Kind of, yeah. This is where the whole electromagnetic fluid thing comes in.
Okay, I've heard about that. That's like Bardon's term for those, what do people call them? Auras? Or vital energy, right?
You got it. And he says it's connected to the elements. Your temperament influences it too. The more balanced you are elementally, the stronger that fluid, that energy gets.
So I'm picturing like 4 dials inside me. Got to get them all lined up.
It's not quite that simple, but yeah, the idea is that you're working with these forces.
Okay, so less dials, more like, I don't know, an orchestra.
That's good.
Got to get all the instruments in tune. All right, so then there's this other thing Bardon talks about, multiple planes of existence. He's got the astral plane and the mental plane, and he says, everything that ever happened or will happen is reflected there. Is it like time travel? What? Psychic stuff?
Not exactly time travel. Think of the astral plane as the emotional workshop of the universe. Our thoughts, desires, they take shape there.
Okay, that's trippy already.
The mental plane is different. Imagine a library, but it holds all the ideas, the pure information, everything.
So astral's where stuff gets made, mental is where the blueprints are.
That's a good way to put it.
My head's spinning a little. But how does this connect to magic, to all that personal transformation Bardon talks about?
For him, mastering these planes isn't about escaping reality. It's more like expanding your consciousness. Imagine tapping into that astral workshop, shaping things, or going into that mental library, getting knowledge no one else has. That's the kind of power Bardon's pointing at.
Okay, so it's not just knowing the stuff. It's like being able to go there, to use it.
Right, and this is huge, he's adamant that power alone is useless. You need wisdom, too.
So it's not enough to just be strong. You got to be, smart about it, ethical.
Exactly, especially with some of the advanced stuff Bardon gets into. I mean, he's talking about creating beings out of pure energy.
Yeah, we're going to get to that.
Projecting your consciousness into paintings, communicating with spirits. This is next level stuff.
It's a lot. And that's why that emphasis on truth and wisdom makes so much sense. Bardon isn't just throwing out techniques. He's laying out a whole path, right?
Yeah.
Ethical, spiritual development, the whole thing.
Right.
He wants you to understand that power without that, the kind that'll mess you up, that comes from trying to force the universe.
Yeah.
You got to align with it, not dominate.
Exactly.
So how do you even start down this path? Bardon lists all this training, controlling your thoughts, breathing exercises, even what you eat matters.
It's true. It's a whole...
He's got this mental wandering thing, too. Projecting your consciousness to different places.
Yeah.
How much of this can a regular person do?
Well, Bardon thinks it's possible, but it's not instant superpowers. It's gradual, disciplined.
Like training for a marathon.
Yes. You start small, build up. Bardon gives techniques for each step. You build on what you've already done. He makes it seem doable, but you got to put in the work.
All right, dedication noted. But got to admit, some of this stuff is pretty out there. He gives tips for medial writing, where a spirit guides your hand. Even suggests using a rubber band to hold the pencil. That's Victorian seance vibes, right?
It does sound a little old school, yeah. But think about it. It's like accessing information from that astral plane we talked about, like automatic writing, channeling, stuff like that. He thinks with enough training we can tap into that library and talk to entities beyond the physical. He even says you can use this to talk to, people who've passed away.
Okay, that's both cool and creepy at the same time. But then he gets even darker. He talks about larvae and phantoms, thought forms that can become real things and even mess with people. Wait, so our thoughts can make these beings...
That's what he's saying. It's a warning about uncontrolled thoughts, emotions, He gives this example. Someone thinks a regular person is a black magician. Just believing it can cause problems, even persecution.
So, like, our fears, our beliefs, they're not just in our heads. They have power.
That's the idea. It all ties back to that mental discipline. He's not saying to repress your feelings, but master them.
Because in Bardon's world, they're not just feelings. They're like building blocks for reality.
Exactly.
Wow. Okay, so it's not just think positive. It's like understand that your thoughts have real consequences out there.
Right.
That's powerful and a little scary. But how do you develop that level of control? He talks about astral senses, like clairvoyance and clairaudience. He even has this recipe for earplugs to help you hear psychic stuff. Is that legit? Or am I going to end up with an ear infection?
He thinks those are things anyone can develop. He sees them working through the elements, so the more you master those within yourself, the better your perception gets. You can pick up on things beyond the normal senses.
So it's like tuning into a different channel of reality. That's wild. But wait till you hear this. Bardon gives instructions for making elementaries, beings from the elements that do your bidding. And you can dress them up with your imagination, like give them outfits. This is straight out of fantasy, right?
It sounds like it, but he's serious. It's a real practice, and he says it's dangerous if you're not careful. Imagine, like, a thought form, but with elemental energy, and you can give it instructions.
Hold on. Is this crossing the line into sorcerer territory? Isn't that what Bardon warns against?
He definitely says don't seek power for its own sake. And creating elementaries, that comes with huge responsibility. Imagine making one, but it gets loose or turns harmful. It goes back to his main point. Power needs wisdom, ethical development. You can't have one without the other.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. I don't want any rogue thought forms running around. So we've got mental discipline, mastering elements, exploring this astral plane, even making beings out of energy. Where do we go from here?
Well, Bardon's system goes even deeper. There's this animating paintings thing where you project your consciousness into artwork to bring it to life. And then there's vaulting, which is creating balls of electromagnetic energy. It gets pretty intense.
We're just scratching the surface here, it sounds like. But before we go any further, I gotta say, this might be a lot for some people listening. It's like reality shifting stuff.
It definitely challenges what we think we know. But that's the beauty of it. Bardon's system, it's a journey, not a finish line. Small steps, building that foundation. It's not about becoming superhuman overnight. It's about expanding your awareness and aligning yourself with the laws of the universe.
All right, I can get behind that. Small steps.
Step by step.
And maybe no rogue elementaries.
Hopefully not.
So what's next on this journey? All right, so we've had a little taste of the weirder stuff, but how do you actually start working with this stuff? Where do you even begin with Bardon?
Well, he's big on gradual training. It's not like you're summoning spirits on day one. He starts with what he calls introspection.
Introspection. So like staring in the mirror and having a heart-to-heart with myself.
Deeper than that, it's a serious self-inventory. Strengths, weaknesses, even the stuff you don't like about yourself, the shadow side. Bardon wants you to see it all. That's the raw material, he says, for real change.
So it's not just think positive. It's like get real with your flaws. Sounds intense. But how do you do the get?
He's a big fan of journaling. Write down what you notice about yourself, the insights, even the stuff that makes you uncomfortable. That self-awareness, that's the key to breaking bad habits and becoming, a master of yourself.
Okay, so introspection, journaling, got it. But then Bardon goes on to the mystery of breathing. And I got to be honest, when I first read that, I thought, isn't breathing just like automatic? We kind of have to do it, right?
Sure, on the surface, but Bardon's suggesting we can do it better. Like consciously. He says you can learn to use your breath to control your energy, calm your mind, even pull in energy from the universe. It's like breathing with a purpose, not just to stay alive, but to, shape your inner state.
So like breathing 2.0.
Oh,
Hacking the system with every inhale and exhale.
exactly. He gives all these techniques for conscious breathing, and he thinks it can really improve your health, clear your mind, even help you connect with that spiritual side of things.
All right, I'm intrigued. So far, we've got self-reflection and breathing exercises. But then there's this whole section on conscious eating. And this is where I got lost. What does eating have to do with magic?
Remember, Bardon's all about that holistic approach. He sees the magical in everything, even eating. Think about it, turning every meal into a mindful ritual. Prepping your food with intention. savoring each bite with gratitude.
Wait, so you're telling me that how WIE can actually affect my magical abilities? That's crazy.
It's about acknowledging the power of your intention, your awareness. He even says you can, like, infuse food with certain qualities using your will and visualization.
Like charging up your food with energy. Now, that's a diet I can get behind.
Okay.
Okay, but Bardon doesn't stop there, right? He goes into auto-suggestion, which sounds a lot like affirmations to me. Am I on the right track?
It's similar, but Bardon takes it a step further. Imagine it like reprogramming your subconscious, like rewriting the code that runs your reality. He believes you can get rid of those limiting beliefs and make your desires happen by using autosuggestion.
So it's not just saying nice things to yourself. It's about truly believing them,
Yeah.
feeling them deep down.
Exactly. He says it's important to really visualize what you want, feel the emotions that come with it, and cultivate this unshakable belief that it will happen. He even talks about using the elements to make your autosuggestion stronger.
Hold on, using the elements, how does that work?
So imagine using, say, the fire element to boost your willpower, or the water element to help with healing. He gives techniques for weaving the elements into your autosuggestions. It's like giving them an extra boost of natural power.
Okay, now this is where things are getting really interesting. So we've covered mastering our thoughts and emotions, breathing consciously, eating with intention, and now we're tapping into the power of the elements. Where does Bardon take us next?
Deeper into working with the elements. He teaches you how to actually accumulate and direct elemental energy within your own body.
Like becoming a walking, talking elemental powerhouse.
Bardon calls it magical astral balance. It's about creating a harmonious relationship with the elements, both inside you and in the world around you. He teaches you to draw in specific elements through your breath, visualize them flowing through you, and even direct them to specific areas to enhance your abilities.
So I could use the fire element to boost my creativity, or the water element to heal a physical problem. This is starting to sound like real magic.
It's all about recognizing that you are a microcosm of the macrocosm, like a tiny version of the universe itself. And by working with the elements, you're tapping into the basic forces that create reality.
Okay, I think I'm starting to see the potential here. But Bardon doesn't just stop at working with the individual elements, does he? He goes even further with this idea of rituals.
Right. He says gestures, postures, even specific hand positions called mudras are important. Think of it like a physical language for talking to the universe. You're expressing your intentions through movement, through focused energy.
So it's not just about thinking things into being. It's about taking physical action, using your body to direct energy and manifest your will.
Bardon believes rituals can connect the physical and spiritual realms. They make your intentions more concrete, more powerful.
That makes sense. It's like you're not just wishing for something to happen, you're actively participating in making it happen. But then Bardon throws this curveball, mental wandering. To me, that just sounds like daydreaming. Am I missing something here?
Mental wandering in Bardon's system is a bit more like controlled astral projection. Imagine sending your consciousness to different places, but you're still aware, still in control.
Okay, so it's not just zoning out. It's about intentionally directing your awareness to other places, even other dimensions.
It's a technique for expanding your consciousness, gaining knowledge, even influencing events at a distance.
Hold on, influencing events at a distance. So you're saying I could potentially use mental wandering to, like, make someone's day better or help a friend in need.
It's a really fascinating possibility, and he gives specific techniques for developing this. You start simple, focus on an object in the room, then slowly build up your ability to reach further.
So, like, if I could project to a tree across the street, maybe I could eventually reach another country or even another planet. The possibilities seem endless. But wait, he also mentions projecting your consciousness into objects, animals, even other people. Is that even possible?
Bardon believes consciousness isn't limited to our physical bodies, it's fluid. He encourages experimenting with different kinds of mental projection, but always respectfully. You have to think about the ethical implications.
Right, so not invading someone's privacy or trying to control their thoughts, more about exploring the potential of consciousness, how it all connects.
Exactly. It's about realizing our minds can reach far beyond what we usually think they can.
This is seriously mind-blowing stuff.
Yep.
Okay, so we've covered mental wandering and all the crazy things it can do, but then Bardon goes in a completely different direction with medial writing, and this is where I start to get a little spooked.
Medial writing is about using writing to talk to spirits. Bardon believes that with practice, we can learn to connect with beings from other realms, including people who've died.
Wait, so it's like channeling, but with a pen and paper.
Yeah, you could say that. He gives specific steps on how to develop this ability. And he's really big on having a clear connection with a trusted guide or entity before you try to communicate with anything else.
So like a spiritual chaperone to make sure you don't attract anything shady.
Hmm.
That makes sense, especially with all those warnings about larvae and phantoms.
Exactly. Remember those. Those are those thought forms that can hang out in your aura or even latch onto other people. He said those are made from negative thoughts and emotions, right?
Yeah, like that example where someone just thinks a regular person is a black magician. Just believing that can create problems, even persecution. It makes you wonder, can our fears and beliefs manifest in ways that cause real harm?
It's a bit scary to think about, but it really highlights how important mental discipline is. Bardon isn't just teaching us about magic, he's teaching us about ourselves, about using this power responsibly.
So it's not enough to just have these abilities. You got to have the wisdom to use them ethically. But how do you know if you're on the right track? Barton talks about developing astral senses like clairvoyance and clairaudience. He even has this recipe for earplugs to help you hear psychic stuff. Is that legit? Or just a recipe for an earache?
He views those abilities as something everyone has the potential for, not like special gifts or anything. And with the right training, he says we can awaken them and start to perceive things beyond our normal five senses.
But is there, like, proof any of this works? Or is it just wishful thinking?
Bardon's system comes from centuries of, esoteric knowledge. He gives techniques, and people have said they've had success with them, but ultimately, you got to try it for yourself, see what works.
Okay, so it's not about blindly believing everything he says. It's about experimenting, seeing what's true for you. But here's where my brain really starts to melt. He talks about creating elementaries, like beings made of the elements that do what you want. He even says you can dress them up with your imagination. Is that real?
That's definitely one of the more advanced and debated parts of his system. What he's talking about are thought forms that are infused with elemental energy, and you can give them tasks to do.
Hold on. So we're talking about like creating actual beings out of energy. This is straight out of a fantasy novel.
I know, it sounds wild, but Bardon is really clear about how responsible you have to be with this. He says it's super important to dissolve them after you're done, otherwise they could become independent and cause problems.
Okay, that makes sense. You don't want to accidentally create some kind of monster, right? But what about animating paintings? Can you actually put your consciousness into a piece of art and bring it to life? Is that literal or just a metaphor?
It's a really interesting idea, and it makes you think about art as a way to channel energy, intention. I think what he's saying is that with enough focus and imagination, you can give objects a kind of life, and they can affect their surroundings, maybe even do certain tasks.
Wow. So the things we create, the objects around us, even our thoughts, they all have this potential to hold energy and intention. That's a lot to process.
It is a lot to take in, but it goes back to what Bardon keeps saying. We're not just watching reality happen, we're part of creating it. Our thoughts, beliefs, actions, they all have real consequences in the world.
This is seriously giving me a new perspective on things. So we've gone through a lot with Barton, from like basic self-reflection to creating beings out of energy and making paintings come alive. Pretty wild stuff.
It is. And keep in mind, we've only just scratched the surface of initiation into Hermetics. There's way more to discover. Enough for a lifetime of study, really.
That's what's so exciting, right? It's not just a rule book. He opens up a whole new way of looking at yourself, the universe, everything.
Exactly. He gives you the map, but the journey's yours. You get to explore, experiment, find what works for you. But before we wrap up, I think we got to talk about something. If all this is real, if magic is a genuine force, why aren't we seeing more of it? Why isn't everyone, I don't know, levitating stuff and making their dreams come true?
Yeah, why isn't the world full of magicians? It's a good question.
I think there are a few reasons. First, there's this widespread belief that magic is just make-believe. Fairy tales, movies. That skepticism, it can block people from even trying.
Like, if you don't believe it's possible, you're not even going to bother.
Exactly. Then there's the idea that magic is all about controlling things, forcing the universe to do what you want. And that's a really limited view. It doesn't really work.
Trying to fit a square peg in a round hole?
Yeah, exactly. What Bardon teaches is that real magic is about understanding the laws of the universe and working with them. It's about aligning your will with, like, a bigger will, a divine will, not forcing your ego on everything.
So, more about surrender than control. Letting go and trusting the universe.
In a way, yeah. It's realizing that you're part of something much bigger than yourself. And that takes, well, faith.
And that's maybe another reason why magic seems so hard. We live in a world that's all about logic, proof, scientific evidence, intuition, faith. Those are often seen as weaknesses.
Yeah, we're taught to ignore anything that can't be explained by science, measured in a lab. But Bardon's system says there's more to reality than that. There are things beyond our senses, beyond our instruments.
He's saying open your mind to something bigger. Develop your intuition. Trust your heart. It's a pretty big ask to turn away from how we usually see things and embrace a way of knowing that's based on experience, intuition, and faith.
It's definitely a different way of thinking, and it can be scary. We're afraid of what we don't know. What might happen if we let go of control and, like, surrender to something bigger than ourselves? But what if that's exactly how you unlock the magic? What if letting go is what opens up all these incredible possibilities?
It's a beautiful thought, but also a little terrifying, right?
It is.
So maybe magic isn't as far out of reach as we think. Maybe it's just about changing our perspective, building our faith, embracing what we don't know.
And maybe we don't see magic because we're not really looking for it. We're caught up in our routines, our worries, all the distractions. We don't notice the miracles that are happening all around us. Bardon's telling us to wake up, pay attention. There's magic everywhere.
See the magic in the everyday stuff. Embrace the possibilities that are inside us, all around us. It's like we're sleepwalking and he's shaking us saying, hey, look around. Magic is everywhere.
And if enough of us start looking, who knows what we'll find? Maybe we'll realize we're not as powerless as we thought. Maybe we can shape our reality, heal ourselves and others, make the world a better place.
It's something worth working towards, right? A world where we don't fear magic or ignore it. A world where we embrace it.
Absolutely. I think Bardon would be happy to know that people are reading his work, discovering their own potential, and using it to make the impossible possible.
Well, that's about it for our deep dive into initiation into Hermetics. It's been an amazing journey. I hope you enjoyed exploring this world with us.
If this has sparked your curiosity, pick up Bardon's book. See what you find. You might surprise yourself.
And remember, the magic isn't out there somewhere. It's inside you, waiting to be discovered. So go out there, experiment, and find the magician within.
And as always, we'd love to hear from you. What stood out to you in Bardon's work? What questions do you have? What are you inspired to explore? Share your thoughts, and let's keep this journey going together.